Hey, what's going on guys? It's SquishyJoshy, and today we've got a special video. We're basically going to be talking about my top 10 favorite Marvel Rivals characters since the game launched at the end of last year. Now, one of the really exciting things about Marvel Rivals is that they're dedicated to consistently releasing new characters a lot faster than most other games out there, and I am all here for that. If we're lucky, we might even get a character every couple of weeks. So who knows, maybe my list will change in the future, but I really wanted to make a list now where we dive into the top 10 characters that I enjoy playing in Marvel Rivals. I'm going to tell you exactly why I picked these characters and what makes them stand out in this fast-paced epic battle arena that is Marvel Rivals. So grab yourself a snack, buckle up, and let's get into it. Oh, and don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming Marvel Rivals content. Alright, before we get started with the countdown, I just want to quickly shout out how Marvel Rivals is really keeping things fresh. We've been getting new characters so quickly since the game's launch, initially starting off with 33 characters, and now we're starting to see the entirety of the Fantastic Four come to the roster, and who knows what other characters are in store for the game, as Marvel Rivals has access to essentially all of Marvel's IP. And I'm not gonna lie, I've got myself the Marvel Encyclopedia, and there are thousands upon thousands of characters that they could eventually introduce into this game. So the developers are really making sure that there's always something new to get excited about. This fast-paced, character-driven approach really sets Marvel Rivals apart from other games. Alright, well now that we've got that out of the way, why don't we jump into my list of my top 10 characters in Marvel Rivals. Starting at number 10, we've got Moon Knight.
The moon haunts you!
Moon Knight was always a character that I was interested in, especially when I watched the series on Disney Plus, and even before then, I was always kind of intrigued by his mysterious character. Although I never really got into any of the comics, as my journey with Marvel started with the films, Moon Knight's TV series really got me interested in the character. Now, the reason why he's at number 10, and probably somewhere down the line he'll move up the list, is because I always had this idea that I wanted to play Moon Knight, but never really got a chance to. And so there were a couple of games that I got to play recently where I started experimenting with the character, and turns out he's actually really fun. Honestly, you could say that Moon Knight is a bit of a hidden gem. Maybe not for others, but for me personally. He's got extremely good versatility in combat, and I like that he, along with all the other characters, are pretty much lore accurate. To my knowledge, we don't actually hear much about his multiple personalities, but there is a lot of mention about him and his relation to Khonshu. Now, he's got some pretty good abilities, but one of the things that really stands out are his arcs. Now, when he puts his arcs down, you can literally just do your primary fire at the arcs and you'll just damage everyone within the radius, because what happens is when you're firing at it, your ammo just bounces off and just hits whoever's within range. And this is actually a really powerful ability that he has, because it means you don't have to really be as precise as I thought you would have to be with the character. Initially, when I saw him, I thought you have to be very precise because he's like throwing moon darts. But when I found out that all you have to do is really just throw them at the arcs, it made his character a little bit more easier. I really do like how he also is very mobile compared to some of the other characters. I do believe he has a double jump, but I do like that he can pretty much get around the place very easily, and he also has a glide where he pulls out his cape and it looks really epic. I mean, you don't see any other superhero with a unique moon-shaped cape like Moon Knight. So honestly, that puts Moon Knight at number 10 for me. He's a cool character, but I feel like I'm only just starting to experiment with him now. Coming in at number 9 is Penny Parker.
It's party time!
Penny Parker is a pretty cool character, in my opinion. I never really knew of her existence until I saw the Spider-Verse animated films. But one of the cool facts about Penny Parker is that she was created by Gerard Way, who was the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. Now, if you're a fan of tech and mech-like characters, you'll definitely love her. But I want to tell you about the reason why I have been enjoying playing Penny Parker recently and why she's made it into the number 9 slot. Now, I've got to be real with you guys. I am not very great at Vanguard, and I'm only slightly better with Strategist, but I seem to work best as a duelist. Now, Penny Parker is a Vanguard, but she seems to be one of the Vanguards that I can actually play. I feel like a lot of people have figured out her playstyle, which is to choke up areas with her spider mines, and for some people they might find her a little bit OP, but I'm just an average gamer and I'm only just starting to understand her playstyle, and I think I'm kind of getting the hang of it. One of the main issues though is really thinking about where you place your spider mines and that little machine thing that creates them. If you put it out in the open, it is very vulnerable to attacks and you have to wait for the cooldown to rebuild it again. But But if you think of a very strategic place to hide it, it can continuously be pumping out some spider mines for you and make it very hard for the enemy team to get past it. Now additionally, she has a semi-long range shot that she can shoot towards the enemy, which is very handy in a pinch, especially when people are running away at low health, because Penny Parker is actually one of the slower characters, but if you figure out how to effectively use her webs, you can sort of jump around the map fairly easily. Her webs essentially make her character a little bit more mobile when she does feel a little bit slow, but she can climb up walls, so that is also another helpful thing for you guys to know. One thing that's pretty cool with Penny is her ultimate. Now her ultimate is probably where she shines because she gets a pretty good speed boost, and basically you just run around the map, run towards your enemy and just drop web and spider mines everywhere, and it's pretty much an easy way to just get rid of people that are in your path and make it a lot harder for the enemy to get through. I personally love how her kit mixes both intelligence and power. Plus, who doesn't love a good Spider-Man themed robot? Next up at number 8, we have Mantis.
We are undefeatable!
This is the first strategist we've got on the list, but let me tell you, she is a force to be reckoned with. I think she's one of the easier characters to heal with, and she's quite agile, which is very handy. I can't tell you how many times I struggle with characters that are slow. I just need faster characters constantly. So we know her from the movies to be this sort of telepathic kind of alien character that can control and feel emotions. The closest ability that she has to that is essentially a sleep dart, I suppose you could call it, that puts enemy team to sleep. That comes very handy in a pinch, because if you're getting surrounded or need to slow one of the enemy down, particularly those pesky Wolverines that always just get up in your grill, her sleep dart ability is very handy for that. Apart from that, she's got a bit of a cooldown on her abilities, so she can do things like boost herself, inspire teammates, or heal teammates. She's got a pretty powerful heal and a pretty decent primary fire, so she's capable of protecting herself on the field. As long as you've got good accuracy, good aim, you should be fine with Mantis. Now her ultimate is where she really shines, because it honestly just provides the team with such a great heal. It gives her an incredible speed boost, and basically anyone that's sort of in her vicinity get healed, which makes her a very, very effective strategist to play, especially when you want to keep your allies healed. So I'm all for utility, and Mantis brings plenty of it. At number 7, we've got Jeff the Land Shark. What were the chances of it being number 7? I actually know someone that goes by the online alias of 7, and she actually finds Jeff the Land Shark really cute. So what a coincidence that Jeff landed on the number 7 spot. Now I know what some of you are probably thinking. Is he actually that good? I thought he's just a troll that just swallows up everyone and then just jumps off the map, pretty much doing team wipes. Well, you know what? He actually is a pretty good healer. And this is what I've noticed when people play strategists. Sometimes they're too reserved. They're staying back. They're just completely away from their team. And then a duelist will say something like, GG, no heal, because they were rushing ahead, and then the strategist will be like, no, you were too far ahead. But I think it's just a miscommunication between both parties. I feel like there's a lot of people that are playing this game that are just scared to get in there, and sometimes you just got to push. You just got to literally just get in there. And I think Jeff is one of those characters that is very versatile in the way that he heals, because he shoots out water like a hose, and if you're in the splash zone of that hose, you get heals, and the heals are not too bad. You can easily heal your team if you know what you're doing by just monitoring health bars and just being very strategic with it. Sometimes I feel like there is no excuse for strategists that say, oh, you were too far away. You know, just get in there with your team and protect them. It's that simple. Jeff also has a bubble ability, probably one of his best abilities in my personal opinion, because it is a big heal and it also speed boosts your team. Something I've noticed some Jeffs do is they place a bubble right at the door just before a round starts, so that all of the team can grab it and get a speed boost right off the bat, so that they can get to the objectives quicker. The other thing you gotta appreciate about Jeff is his ability to sneak around the place. When he is submerged underground, it's very hard to get him because he can go up walls as well. But I think you guys all know the one thing that makes Jeff stand out is his ultimate ability, where he basically goes underground and circles a certain radius where you can swallow fellow teammates and the enemy team, and everyone that was swallowed within the radius goes inside of Jeff, and you basically have the ability to shuffle everyone around. You can spit your team out somewhere, you can spit the enemy team out somewhere, or you can do what everyone else does and just fall off the map, which instantly wipes out whoever is trapped inside Jeff's belly. It's super unexpected, but it honestly makes him one of the most fun characters to play. Who needs to be super serious when you've got a character like Jeff? Moving on to number 6 is Star-Lord. Now Star-Lord is a character that first I was kind of not doing too well with, but I started to get a bit more of a hang of his playstyle, and I really like the fact that he has a lot of mobility. He's got the jetpack that can propel him across the map. You can basically fly pretty high with it as well, although it does cool down and then you do fall back to the ground, but it is very handy. The only downside I feel like with Star-Lord is he just does not have enough bullets, and it takes him a while to reload, but he's basically got his pistols, his jetpacks, and his abilities that make him super fun to play because he's just one of those fast characters, and I love playing fast characters. Star-Lord is just full of energy, and he has an ability to basically flip and dodge, which is useful in case anyone is coming at you. And then he's got another ability when you press E, where he basically is moving so fast and shooting everyone within a radius around him, and it does a lot of damage. That's probably one of my favorite Star-Lord moves out of them all. But the fun really begins once you get his ultimate, because he just locks onto everyone and it's just complete rapid fire, and you can stay floating in the air until the ultimate is done. So I love his playstyle. I wish I could play him a little bit better. The thing that holds me back with Star-Lord is the amount of ammo that he has in one clip. For me personally, I feel like it just runs out too quickly. But I guess you could say it's a little bit better than Winter Soldier, who we'll talk about a bit later on in this list. Now at number 5 we have Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch was probably one of my favorite characters when we first got into the closed beta of the game. She felt effortless to play, and I instantly understood her playstyle. She is a fan favorite character in the movies, and certainly a character that many love in the game as well. She can cause a sheer amount of destruction with her kit. Her primary fire is pretty interesting. It doesn't take much effort to use. It's sort of close range, but once you're in range, you actually really don't have to aim that much. As long as you're near an enemy, her primary fire slowly drains at their health. I don't use much of her other abilities except the darts that you can do when you right click, and every now and then I'll use her other ability. But again, most of the characters shine with their ultimate, and using her chaos magic, Scarlet Witch has a very unique ultimate where she basically goes through her voice line, which is pure chaos, and then she charges up and you can basically just fly into the enemy team and she just explodes in a bunch of chaos magic, and anyone in the vicinity just gets instantly vaporized. One of the best ultimates in the game. If people are clever, they'll know how to counter it, but you just got to time it right, and it's fun when you do. I'll tell you that. Next up at number 4 is Winter Soldier.
Again!
Now, we did mention him slightly earlier on, but this guy is a beast. They've made him a little bit more interesting compared to the movies in the way that his arm is a little bit more organic. So yes, it's still a mechanical arm, but they've also got these octopus-like tendrils which show up whenever he does certain abilities. Now, I happen to like all of Winter Soldier's abilities, and there's a really cool trick that I've learned over time as I've played him, which is rather than exhaust your clip of ammo, because he only has 3 rounds in his pistol, rather than exhaust it all in one go, if you just use 2 shots and then use one of his other abilities, it will instantly reload his pistol back to full ammunition. So there's a lot of implications there. Obviously, you can figure out a couple of cool combos as long as you're sort of thinking, okay, 3 bullets, use 2, then use another ability. If you can time things perfectly, you'll be doing a lot of damage. So a couple of his abilities are really fun to use because they're just sort of straightforward and it's easy to know what each one does. One of them, he basically shoots out like this red energy ball, which causes damage to anyone within that area. Another one is he sort of uses his arm with the tendrils as a grappling hook almost, not to grab onto a wall and like propel yourself towards it, but you can grab an enemy and then bring them towards you. And then his other ability is a dash forward and an uppercut punch up into the sky, which can knock people up into the air and also do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he is one of the characters that isn't as fast or mobile or agile as some of the others, but if you know what you're doing with him, you can make it work. His dash and uppercut ability acts as sort of his only way to propel himself a little bit faster than his just standard walk. And once you get his ultimate ability, that's when the real fun begins. I want to get really good at this character, but I know it's going to take a bit more practice. His ultimate ability is that meme that you guys have all heard with the voice line,
Armed and dangerous!
and then basically he just launches himself up into the air and you can see a circle on the ground. That's basically the damage radius. Once you land on the ground, anyone within that radius will be injured and hopefully get KO'd once you land on top of them. But if not, basically what happens is on their health bar there's like a little red indicator on it, and that has a certain time limit. If you can eliminate that enemy who has that little red blood in their health bar, you can basically use your ultimate again. That leads into some crazy combos that you can do with Winter Soldier. character, because if you can keep pulling it off, essentially he's just got a never-ending ultimate. And I love the voice line that goes with that, because every time he gets to do it again, he goes
Again!
So if you want a character that's more of a fighter, who's tough and relentless, Winter Soldier is your guy, and honestly, he just deserves that number 4 slot on my list. Taking the 3rd spot in bronze, I suppose you could say, is the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange.
I suggest you learn to fly.
Doctor Strange is the 2nd Vanguard on this list, and probably the last Vanguard. Doctor Strange brings quite a lot to the table. He's got some pretty cool abilities. One of my favorite ones is just creating troll portals that you can place at the enemy spawn before the round starts, and if people don't realize, they'll just rush out the door and fall straight through the portal and fall off the map. But I feel like the game has gotten a bit more strict on that, so I don't know if that ability is as effective as it was before. But who doesn't love a Marvel portal, honestly?
Marvel Sparkle Circle.
His primary fire is probably what you're going to use most of the time, especially to get damage on the enemy. But since you're a Vanguard, you do have to be protecting and taking damage for your team as well. So he's got a really massive shield that can essentially protect everyone behind you and is very handy. So make sure when you play Doctor Strange, you're using a shield, you're absorbing enemy damage and keeping your team safe, so long as they heal you. One of the things that Doctor Strange does as well is if you keep getting hits with your primary fire, he charges up another ability, which is basically like a dark magic discharge ability. So if anyone is in your proximity, you can use that ability and it will do some massive damage, especially if the ability is fully charged. You also can levitate, which is also handy. Sometimes you can do some really cool things once you're in the air. You might even want to go up there and put a shield up for some of your flying characters. Maybe Iron Man's in the air and you want to shield him, or maybe you just want to rain some of your primary fire from above, or maybe you have some reason to place a portal up in the sky. There's so much versatility with Doctor Strange. Now his ultimate has something to do with the Eye of Agamotto, and anyone that's sort of around him will basically have their souls separated from their actual character. Now I feel like more teams need to be aware of this, but when that happens, you can see the green outline of the enemy character's soul. They can't do anything while they're in that state, and ideally you should be shooting at the green souls, because if you can successfully damage the green souls, their respective characters will get KO'd. So it's a good way to slow down enemy teams and cause some massive damage, especially if everyone is on the same page. Now coming in at number 2 is Iron Man.
Maximum pulse!
Now, a lot of you guys know that Iron Man is probably one of my favorite, and if not the favorite character of mine in all of Marvel. I love the one-liners that he has in the movies, and I just love how sleek the Iron Man suit is in general. It's just really cool. So even I'm surprised that he didn't make the number 1 spot on this list, because he is one of my favorite characters of all time. He just didn't make the number 1 spot because you'll find out soon enough. There just happens to be another character that I'm enjoying more on Marvel Rivals right now, so that's why it has the number 1 spot. But focusing on Iron Man for now, the reason why I like Iron Man so much and have put him at number 2 is because he's got infinite flight. That's already like huge. He can just fly non-stop, and that creates some very interesting plays. You can do some damage from above, you can sort of swoop down and fire missiles. He's got a pretty good kit and pairs really well with characters like the Hulk, because there's a team up ability where he gets gamma energy, which makes his damage even more powerful. His beam is really good. The right click beam is really good. It does a lot of damage as long as you're accurate with it. Honestly, he's just a powerhouse for competitive advantage. But my actual favorite thing with Iron Man is his ultimate, and as usual, if you're really good with it and you point it at the enemy team and no one's blocking it, you can do some serious damage. Sometimes you can wipe out the entire team. So Iron Man is definitely one of my go-to heroes, especially when I feel like our team isn't doing the right kind of damage or the right kind of progress in a mission. I'll sort of realize it mid-game and be like, okay, I need to switch to Iron Man, and Iron Man usually is the answer. If something's not working out and you're not playing Iron Man at first, switching to Iron Man solves it. There's something about his infinite flight and speed and damage that just helps you win games, and so that's why he's my number 2 character in Marvel Rivals. Now before I get into number 1, I hope you guys have been enjoying this video so far, and if you have, don't forget to smash the like button if you haven't already, and let me know down in the comments below who your top 10 characters are. Now I know what you're all thinking. You've seen my top 9 so far, and you're probably thinking, oh, I know exactly who his number 1 is. And who knows, you might be right, but I'm going to reveal it to you right now. My number 1 character since Marvel Rivals launch is Iron Fist. I was never really a fan of the character personally. I never got into the Netflix series, and I never really thought of checking out Iron Fist in the comics. But in this game, oh my goodness, he is just super fun to play. The fact that you can basically run along walls is so fun, and he's super agile. He can basically do a quad jump and fly across the map without actually flying, and his rapid punches and his kicks honestly just knock everyone down with great speed, and I just love that. People hate him so much, but it's such a fun character to play. His right click basically can reflect most damage, and he gets a little bit of heals from it, and his ultimate isn't really anything special, but I think it just makes him faster and more strong, and you can't go wrong with that. Honestly, I work best as Iron Fist, especially when I've got healers that know that I like to get in there and constantly just knock out one character after another. Sometimes I get 5 in a row, or maybe even a team wipe, and that leads to an MVP, but that can only work when you've got great strategists on your team as well. So he packs a serious punch, and that's exactly why I've got him in the number 1 slot on my top 10 list. I do have to make a special mention to Sue Storm, Invisible Woman though, who recently joined the Marvel Rivals roster in season 1. Like Mantis, I think she has a really good kit when it comes to strategists. She's got extreme versatility, which are just honestly great assets that your team can utilize in order to have a competitive advantage. Her heals are pretty decent. You can literally just push people off maps or into Doctor Strange's portal. She's got a great double jump, and who doesn't love turning your entire team essentially invisible with her ultimate? So she definitely deserves a special mention in this video. And there you have it. That's my top 10 characters in Marvel Rivals since the game's launch. I'm sure some of you have your own favorites, and I'd love to hear them in the comments below. You don't have to think about a top 10, but if you do have a top 10, please do list it down there. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to just mention 1 or 2 of your favorites, and it'll be really interesting to see what characters you guys have been enjoying. It'll be also interesting to see if anyone agrees with my list. Do you guys think that my list is fair? Do you think that it's a top 10 that makes sense? I suppose I'm someone that likes to do a bit more damage and have a bit more speed, so I feel like these are the characters that really resonate with me. I really want to have a discussion about it down in the comments below, so please do let me know down there. And remember, Marvel Rivals is always updating and adding new characters, so make sure you're staying tuned for more epic content, because everything we do here is all about creative stuff, whether it's gaming, music, pop culture. I want this channel to be one of the main stops that you think of when looking for that kind of content. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated on all things Marvel Rivals. Have an awesome day or night depending on where you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.